This video is brought to you by my supporters on Patreon. Hey guys, so I'm here with a video showing you how I made my Dark Magician Girl hat. These patterns are available on my store Envy now, and if they aren't, they will be soon. But if you want to get patterns as soon as I release them, then my Patreon is the place to go. For her hat, I made a foam base, and that's what you can see here. I'm tracing out all of the pattern pieces onto the foam, cutting that out, and then we will move on to the next step in a bit. Before moving on to the next step, I glue these two pieces together, but that footage kind of got cut off. After that, I spray one side of all of the pieces with a spray adhesive and then stick that on fabric. You're going to want to stick like opposite sides for some of the pieces onto the fabric because of the way that it works. It's really similar to like if you're sewing, you want to have it so that the right sides would end up together. So when I cut it out, I made sure to leave some excess around the edges. This way that I could fold this fabric over the edge and glue it down. This just creates a nice clean edge. Otherwise, you'll see the craft foam poking through if you don't cover the edges with fabric. So make sure you have enough space in between the pieces when you're sticking them onto the fabric to have this bit of what would be like seam allowance. Then I go ahead and start gluing most of the pieces together. I don't necessarily fully attach the hat, but I glue the pieces that need to be attached to one another. Here I'm gluing the hat, and you could probably glue the hat together before attaching it to fabric, but that I find ends up wasting a lot more fabric than I wanted it to, simply because of the weird way you would have to position the fabric onto the hat. You just end up having a bunch of like gap pieces that would just be scraps and unusable. Anyways, I just use hot glue to glue that together, and to quicken the process I use some spray air, I guess, and spray air for dusting and stuff, because that's just very cold and it pulls the glue down really fast so that I can move on to the next piece. Now I start working on all of the pink lining that her hat has. So it has these bands on the hat. They can actually be like just different levels if you really wanted them to, but the bands made it appear like there were different layers to the hat anyway, so I didn't really bother. All I did for this was cut out a bunch of strips of EVA foam. All of the EVA foam I'm using, by the way, is about 2 or 3 millimeters thick. I just cut out strips though that were probably about half an inch thick, or wide, not thick, wide, or long. Not long, no, it's wide. Okay, anyways, I did the same thing that I did to the blue with those. I used spray adhesive on one side, and then I stuck that onto pink fabric and cut it out and left excess around the edges. When gluing on the lining that goes around the edges of the larger pieces, I go ahead and fold over and glue down the top part that will be, I guess it could be top or bottom, but the part that's going to be on the hat and the part that's going to be along the edge, I leave that loose until I have glued down the entire strip itself. This way I can pull over that extra edge of pink completely over both the blue and pink edge. Otherwise, you're going to see both the blue and pink along the edge if you do it any other way, and I didn't want that. I wanted the edges where there were pink to have pink sides. If that makes any sense. You can see it here. Moving on, I'm going ahead and beginning to glue all of the hat pieces together. So this is that little visor piece. I'm just gluing that together in the back to finish it off, and then I will attach it to the hat. I've already attached the other little layer of the hat on as well. And now it's time for the final piece of the hat, and that is the little spirals that go on the side. So I just drew up this real quick pattern to the size I wanted it to be. It's just a circle with a swirl on it. And I cut this out in foam that was 8 millimeters thick. I soldered in the spiral design. I went ahead and beveled the edges to give it more dimension, so I cut along the edge with a pair of scissors at an angle and then went back in with a Dremel to smooth and blend it all out so it was nice and even and had a bit more of a rounded shape to it.
I just want to show you the true light. Let me up and make me feel alright. 'Cause baby, we are always shining bright. Take me home tonight. I just want to show you the true light. Let me up and make me feel alright. 'Cause baby, we are always shining bright.
Once it was how I wanted it, I went ahead and painted it with wood glue to prime it, and then spray painted it with gold spray paint. Now, using a reference photo, you figure out the placing and then take some hot glue and glue that right onto the hat, and that is it. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video and found it helpful. I will have a video coming on how I made her wand, so be sure to check that out. And if you want to see how I made any of my other cosplays, I probably have a video on it. Thanks for watching. Have a lovely day.